Levine's sig, greater than 0.05, top row. Less than 0.05, bottom row. Based on this significance, 0.163, we are going to pay attention to the top row. And this is where we are going to draw our information for reporting our results. So the the T ratio for this analysis is going to be 3.76. The degrees of freedom is 424. And then within this significance area, remember we're not doing the one-tailed directional test, we're focusing on two-sided, but this two-sided P is where we are going to determine significance. I don't even think I share with you in the one sample test whether or not there is significance. I'm going to go back up real quick. These end up being the same significance levels. So two-sided P is less than 0.001. Down for our independent samples, two-sided P is less than 0.001. So when you are looking at that two-sided P, you have to make another comparison again. You're going to compare that value against our alpha level. Okay, so our alpha level for these tests is 0.05. So what I'm about to share will always be the comparison that you make if you are working with a 95% confidence within SPSS. You compare your probability value to 0.05. If your calculated probability value, the value that SPSS is producing within this area, is less than 0.05, then your test shows significance. All right? If it's less than 0.05, your test shows significance. If it is greater than 0.05, your test does not show significance. All right? So less than 0.05 is significant. Greater than 0.05 is not significant. And that's only applicable here under this two-sided P significance. That does not have to do with this first Levine's test for equality of variances. So based on the outcome of actually both of these tests, with the age, comparing our sample age to our population age, we found significance. How foolish of me. I didn't even think to finish this. So we're effectively saying that the average age of our students is significantly different from the average age across the population for community college students. And you would write up your results that way. Down here, the conclusion is there is a significant difference between the number of units taken by Asian students versus the number of units taken by Chicanic students, with Asian students taking, about 1.5 more units per semester than Chicanic students. That's how you would kind of construct your reporting results in APA format. Okay? And that's it. That's all you have to do. So I'll take you over to the T-test assignment. So for this assignment, you're going to be calculating a total of 3 tests. The first is where you're conducting a one sample T-test. So you'll follow the steps needed to complete the one sample T-test. And I'm actually giving you the variable that you need to use here. Remember, in order to calculate a one sample T-test, you have to have a population value to compare it against. So the population average GPA is 3.0. So when you are conducting your one sample T-test, you are going to use the GPA variable, and you want to make sure that you are testing it against a population average of 3.0. You don't have to put the 0.0. SPSS doesn't require that. You can just input 3. And then you need to conduct 2 separate independent samples T-tests using independent variables and dependent variables of your own choosing. Times 2 is just to say that you'll do this twice. Do not do the same comparison that I did here. Okay, so I don't want anybody's independent samples tests to compare Asian students to Chicanic students and the number of units they're taking. Mix it up, right? If you do that, if you recreate the test I just did, I'm going to ask you to do it again. So just choose different independent variables, choose different dependent variables. You are welcome to still, for example, you can still use race as your independent variable, but I don't want you making that exact comparison of units taken between Asian students and Chicanic students. So just mix it up a little bit, okay? You're going to do that twice, right? The independent sample size. For each of these analyses, you're going to write out your null and research hypotheses. So there will not be versus there will be. You're going to identify the variables to conduct your analysis. Again, in this particular scenario with the one sample, I'm choosing the variable for you. You're going to run your analysis, use a snipping tool, make sure you capture the one sample statistics table, the one sample test table. You want to write a concluding statement. Just copy and paste this statement, modify it based on the results of your analysis, and then incorporate the context, right? So there is or is not significance. We retain or reject the null hypothesis, and therefore, describing the context of your test, right? There is or is not a significant difference between our sample GPA and the population GPA. And then you will write the results of your analysis in APA format. Like I said, you can use the paragraphs that I've given you in the PowerPoint as outlines. Please feel free to do so, and you would just modify it based on the context. So you do essentially that same thing for down here, the independent samples t-test. You'll just do it twice. So in total, you're going to have 3 tests that you complete, one sample t-test and 2 independent samples t-test. All right. So that's all I got. If you have any questions as you're working through it, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'll catch y'all next time.